Hey there, my little gappers, and welcome to 1% Better with Heather. Haha, it's funny because it rhymes. This episode is called, here we go again. So, May 13th, so like a week and a bit ago, I went for my 2-week blood appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning. 3:30, I got a phone call from my doctor's office from my doctor's receptionist that said, you need to get to the ER right now. You have 41% carbon dioxide in your blood. And I said, what the fuck does that mean? And she's like, I don't know. All I know is the doctor said, get to the ER now. So I start phoning my husband, who does not answer his phone. And I'm phoning over and over and over again. And Googling at the same time, what does carbon dioxide mean? I'm like, am I dying? What's going on? And the weekend, my husband started working on our lawnmower. And I don't know, the lawnmower got a leak. The whole house smelled like gas. And I thought, fucker's trying to kill me. I'm flipping out. Then I'm thinking, well, maybe my husband needs a blood test. Like, what am I breathing in here? So I got a hold of my ex-husband, who picked me up, dropped off my son, because I just got home from picking him up from school. And he goes and drops him off at the house, opens the door, looks at my other son and says, I got to take your mom to the hospital, and slams the door. And I'm like, why would you say that, you moron? But whatever. I get down to Hotel California, where you can check in and never leave, also known as Surrey Memorial Hospital. So I get there. There's people there, but it wasn't too bad. And I'm like fifth in line. It's not horrible at all. But I get up to the front. I'm the next one to go in. And 3 overdose cases came in, one after another after another. And I'm like, no, I get it. They're overdosing. But I probably stood there for a good 2 hours. And I'm like, okay. So I finally get up to the front, and they're like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I got 41% carbon dioxide. I don't know what that means. So they're like, get to the back. So there's a second waiting room of the ER. I go up there. I tell them what's wrong. They're like, have a seat. And I'm like, well, I guess it's not that important. So by the time I get back there, it's, I don't know, 6 o'clock now. And wait around. My husband comes down to the hospital. We're waiting around. Finally get in the back to wait for a doctor. I saw the doctor at midnight, and man, was he very good looking. I was like, hello, McDreamy. So he says, Heather, your potassium is at 2.6. Now, everyone's potassium, like everyone on the planet, their potassium should be 3.5. 2.5, you go into cardiac arrest, and mine's 2.6. And I was like, oh, no. And he's like, do you know why this is happening? And I'm like, yes, it's because of my eating disorder. Okay. So he's like, we're going to give you an infusion. That should bring it up, and you can be on your merry way. I need to know right now what you're doing. Are you binging and purging? Are you taking laxatives? I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. I'm like, I will be very honest. Like, maybe I should be eating more. The weekend was hot. I was in the backyard. Maybe I didn't drink enough water. I don't know. And he's like, okay. And then he looks over to my husband, and he says, I'm going to talk to him now. I'm like, well, you go at her, my friend. And my husband's like, no, I don't have any concerns, because the last time when I got checked in, there were a lot of concerns, and I was 84 pounds and on death's door. right? So they're like, okay, well, we're going to give you the infusion and you should be okay. So I go sit down, they hook me up with an IV, they put in the infusion, everything's going fine until the infusion hits my veins. Now I think I'm having a stroke. It hurts like I'd rather give birth to octuplets. My arm is burning and I'm like, something's wrong. And I'm trying to flag down the nurse. And I'm like, my arm is burning. Like, and it's going all the way up my arm, into my shoulder, into my back. I'm getting really, really, really hot. I'm going to throw up. My husband had already left by this point because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and he needs some sleep. I start to cry. The guy that I've been talking with for the last couple hours is now holding my hand. And I'm like, I can't do this. Get it out. Get it out. I'm going to rip it out myself. They're like, we can't. And I was like, yeah, you can. Get it out. And they're like, no, but we can turn it down a bit. And I can't even explain to you what my veins felt like. Like I could feel them expanding. And they're like, well, if we put it on high, it'll get over and done with. And I'm like, I'm not going to survive this. Like, I'm going to flip out or I'm going to have a stroke. So they slow it down and it eventually stops around 5:30 in the morning. And by this time, my husband is back. So they gave me 2 bags. And apparently, it's funny to ask Heather if you want a third, because I had like 5 nurses come up and say, hey, you want another bag? Not funny. So, I'm like, but I'm glad you guys all got a sense of humor. So now I have to get more blood work and they come back and they're like, you're getting admitted. It's 6 o'clock in the morning now. They're like, it went to 2.8. You're not out of the woods yet. And I was like, oh, fun. So I get admitted. They put me in a bed in the hallway, meet another gentleman who actually was very, very, very kind. We become buddies. My husband's like, I need to go back to bed. I'm like, see ya. So me and my new buddy that my husband scoped out to make sure that he's not a weirdo. He's like, I trust you with my wife. You guys are friends now. So we go out for coffee. We go out for cigarettes. We're talking. We're bonding. We're trading our breakfasts, right? Like in school in the cafeteria. Do you want my this for this? And yeah, we're getting along really well. And then the porter says, okay, we got to move you to a hallway. And my buddy says, no, we're a package deal. We go together. He's like, that's fine. We're going to move you both. So then so we go to another hallway, which was less entertaining than the first, but right where the ambulances come in. So very, very, very entertaining. I thrive on the chaos. And if you've ever been to Sir Memorial Hospital, you know the chaos I'm talking about. So I get very nice nurses and they're like, all right, you're going to stay here. So now it's Tuesday morning. It is my son's birthday, my son's 15th birthday. And I am feeling like the shittiest mother on the planet. So I phoned my son to wish him happy birthday. And he says to me, Mom, is it like the last time? And I'm like, no, buddy, it's not. It's not. It's going to be okay. And I'm trying not to cry. And I made it through the conversation without bawling my face off. And then I started crying. And I couldn't stop crying. But my buddy beside me, he's like, Heather, it's okay. It's okay. They just want their mommy here. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that you're missing his birthday. He just wants his mommy to be on this earth. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And then he got some very devastating news. Now I'm crying again because I was eavesdropping. And no one should get news like that in a hallway. I will say that. So he gets discharged. And now my husband's there and we're talking and I'm crying. And I'm trying to figure out what to do. I'm trying to find a banana. You think I could find a banana? No, not at all. So I go down to the coffee shop. I get a grilled cheese, which was like, I must have been starving because that was like the best grilled cheese of my life. And get some vitamin water. My husband brings me some shirts, some crackers. I wrote a list thinking, okay, I'm going to be home tomorrow. Like, no big deal. And then the PTSD started happening because now I'm in the same spot I was 2 years ago. And I keep hearing 3 East. Everyone here is going to 3 East. And that's where I was when I was 7. And I'm like, no, this cannot be happening again. God, no. And I'm thinking, I'm not 84 pounds. I've been doing so much better. Please don't put me there. And I start crying and I go to my nurse and I'm like, you got to be very, very, very honest with me. Am I going back to 3 East? And she's like, no, you're here for low potassium. And I'm very open and honest, right? I wouldn't have this podcast if I wasn't. And I say to the nurse, listen, I fully understand I have an eating disorder. I'm in recovery. Recovery is a long, long freaking road, my friends. But I can't do that again. Like, please don't lock me up. I'm like, they're really not going to let me out this time. And she's like, nope, you're just here for potassium. Don't worry. So I go lay down. It's been like 36 hours since I've slept. And I just start falling. The new nurse starts, and she's sitting on my bed with me, rubbing my back as I'm having what I think is a nervous breakdown at this point. And she's like, it's okay, Heather, don't worry. It's okay, Heather, don't worry. Just try to get some sleep. So then that brings us into Wednesday morning. I wake up, I get my blood done again, and the nurse comes to me and says, Heather, I hate to break the news to you, but you're staying another night. Because no one gave me my medication all day Tuesday. So my potassium has not gone up. It's still at 2.8. And because they've been doing multiple blood tests, they want 2 good blood tests in a row. So in the afternoon of Tuesday, it went up to like 3.4. And they're like, all right, it's looking good. And then it dropped again down to 3. So that's when the nurse said, no, you can't go home yet. And by the way, you have to have 4 rounds of potassium this time. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So now I'm bawling some more. I'm like, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. And she's like, all right, well, when do you want it? I'm like, well, let me go get something to eat and then we'll get this done. And she's like, yeah, it's going to take a bit for it to come down here. So I go across the street to the Mexican place because I've been Googling foods that are high in potassium, and avocados was one of them. So I bought the biggest container of guacamole they sold. And I'm like, we're going to get this done, right? So here's me eating my guacamole, hoping by some miracle I get to go home. No, not at all. So the 4 bags of potassium get hooked up at midnight. I'm like, you cannot put it on full blast. I can't. And she's like, no problem. We know that you're not leaving. We'll do it a little slower so it doesn't hurt. I passed out probably around 1:30 in the morning and just put the blanket over my head, because if you've ever slept in a hallway, it's not amazing. The lights don't go out. People are going back and forth. I'm in the ghetto. So now I'm freaking out. I'm going to be passed out and someone's going to steal my purse. That's really, like, could happen. So I'm all worked up. I'm still thinking I'm going up to 3 East. Oh my God. So I pass out. I wake up around 5 a.m. and I look up and there's still a bag. And I was like, oh God, please don't tell me this is still the first bag. And she's like, no, it's the 4th. And I'm like, well, that's like the best news ever. So it finishes up pretty quick. So I woke up right when it was ending. They unhooked me and I'm like, I need coffee. So I go down, get my coffee. I go outside for a cigarette. I'm praying to anyone who's listening. I'm like, please make this work. And I'm like, I need a freaking banana. And I'm going everywhere that I can think of. I'm walking all over Canada to try to find this banana. And the new nurse that came on shift said, this girl needs a banana. Someone go find it. And one of the really nice care aides, who I remember from the first time, went into like where the kitchen is and came back with a banana for me. I'm like, oh, thank you, baby Jesus. So they take my blood, goes up, and they're like, well, it should, because you got 4 rounds of potassium in you. And I just ate all this guacamole and a banana. And then they're like, all right, we just got to do your blood again this afternoon and see what happens. Well, sure as hell, the thing drops again. Nope, you're staying another night. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never getting out of here. So you can understand why it's called Hotel California, where you can check in and never leave. And then I start crying again. So I go back to the Mexican place, get some more guacamole, eat some more crackers. Got some Gatorade. I got some vitamin water. Still can't find a banana. But the nice care aide came back with another banana, so I had it stashed. So I'm like, okay, when's my next blood? And they're like, oh, it's going to be at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay, fine. I can do this. My husband puts Netflix on my phone. I watch the Gilmore Girls. I camp out in my bed. Try to keep my body calm. Another doctor comes in, wants to talk to me. So I told him everything. And that's when he said I wasn't going home. So then I start to cry. And I'm talking to my husband. And I was like, it's the eating disorder. I know it's the eating disorder. No one believes me that I'm telling them the truth, that I'm not doing anything wrong. Because I was taking potassium pills. And they don't believe me. They're like, nope, we don't believe you. We think you're doing behaviors, blah. And I was like, but I'm not. And it's so frustrating. Like, if you want to upset me, make me explain myself. And these people don't know me. They've met me for 5 seconds and read a chart. And I get it. All of us with an eating disorder, actively in an eating disorder, which is an addiction, and the sooner you figure that one out, the better off you're going to be, are all freaking liars. Anyone in addiction's a liar. I understand this. But here I am pleading my case. I'm like, seriously, they didn't give me meds. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You can see my husband's credit card bill right now because it's getting a workout at the Second Cup coffee shop with the yummy, yummy grilled cheeses. And then I had the best chicken salad sandwich of my life when the girls came around. That's what I picked for dinner. And then I went back to the coffee shop, got another chicken salad. And I've lived at the Mexican store across the street. So my husband and I talked to the nurse. I'm bawling. And thank God for my husband, because my bonus daughter had leukemia when she was 3. She's 26. She's fine now. But you really have to advocate for your health. So we sit down with this beautiful nurse. And I said, I haven't lied about anything, but I get very verklempt around doctors. I am a talker, in case you didn't notice. But around doctors, I don't like saying stuff because I don't want anything like this being held against me. And so we spill our guts to this nurse. She makes a beautiful report. She's like, Heather, it's going to be okay. We just need you to stay again because we need 2 consecutive blood works in a row. I can get behind that. That's fine. But please don't keep anything from me. Like, I want to work with you and I want to get the hell out of here. And I'm sure this bed, someone very ill needs this bed. So the next morning rolls around and a doctor comes to talk. Well, the next morning, rolls around. I get woken up at 5:30 in the morning. I got someone shaking me. Heather, wake up, Heather. And I'm thinking it's the nurse trying to take my vitals, right? Like my temperature and my blood pressure. And it's the blood person. She's like, I'm sorry to wake you up, but this is when we start. And then I start to cry. And I'm like, you weren't supposed to be here till 9 o'clock. Because my plan was to eat the banana that I stashed before that to help my potassium go up. So now I'm thinking, oh God, I'm so screwed. So now I'm crying. And I'm like, I'm sorry, nice blood person. It's not you, it's me. So that happens. I go get my coffee. I go outside for another cigarette. I come back. And the doctor comes in. And he's like, okay, we're going to let you go home. I'm like, really? Because now it's Thursday. He's like, yeah, no, you can go. And I was like, listen, I've been taking my potassium pills. They were the over-the-counter ones. And it's a certain brand name. I'm not going to say it because it's not their fault. And he's like, no, no, no. That's like taking Flintstone vitamins. Those weren't doing anything. He's like, but you got to get your blood work done again. But now, because I'm Canadian, it's long weekend. So I come home Thursday. My husband gets an Uber for me. I get home. He gets home from work. I was like, okay, book me a blood appointment. Well, I can't get until Tuesday because the doctor said, we'll go Monday. I'm like, that it's a holiday. It's closed. So I tried getting in on Saturday. Yeah, no bueno. So Tuesday it is. Now I have to go see my doctor because I go every second Tuesday to go see my doctor. And I couldn't get my blood till 1:40 in the afternoon. So my doctor's like, all right, I bring him the potassium pills. He's like, yeah, these are Flintstone vitamins. I'm like, I know that now. And I'm crying and I'm talking about what a shit mom I am because I miss my kid's birthday and all the PTSD is coming rushing back. I was not prepared for that one. All the memories, all the stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm trying to process what's happening because right now I feel like I'm in the upside down. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I should backtrack a bit. The minute I came home on Thursday, I could have used a power washer to scrub my body. I hadn't showered in 4 days. Finally, my husband brought me a toothbrush from 7-Eleven that cost him $8 for this toothbrush. I've been wearing my retainer. Oh my God. Like, what a mess, right? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. But it's hard to remember some stuff. I think I'm blocking it out, to be honest. And the more the days go on, the more I'm blocking. So, I did receive a very nice Mother's Day gift. My kids gave me a pedicure. So on Thursday, I went and used that gift card because I needed to take my mind off some stuff. Went grocery shopping, bought more bananas, bought more avocados, bought watermelon because apparently that has potassium, and salmon. I'm going to like not go back there. That's the goal, right? So sorry, flash forward to Tuesday, talking to my doctor. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go get my blood work done today at 1:40. So I go get my blood work done. I go get my kid from school. And I'm old as dirt. I go to bed very, very early, like 8 o'clock, right? And I didn't hear anything. So I'm like, well, it can't be horrible. Like the phone didn't ring, so everything must be A-okay. Oh, sorry. I also got my medication that I was supposed to have because when I went to the pharmacy to get my medication prescribed by my doctor like a month ago, they were on back order and no one called me to say that was in. So I'm taking these Flintstone vitamins that are the potassium thinking that I'm still okay, like potassium is potassium. This is why I'm not a doctor and or a pharmacist. Not the same. So I got my medication now and I'm taking it 3 pills 3 times a day. Everything's all right. Someone on my TikTok said drink orange juice because it's full of potassium. Let me tell you something about me. I hate orange juice, but I'll take one for the team as long as I don't have to go back to Hotel California, Sir Memorial Hospital. No problem. So I tell my doctor all this, still crying, still trying to process feelings. Go get my blood done. Like I say, it's now like 8 o'clock. I'm passed out by 8:30 because I'm just exhausted. All I've done since I've been home is sleep and try to process. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't tell my mom I was there because I don't want to stress her out because my dad has dementia and she's got enough problems, right? Like she doesn't need to know her kid's back in the hospital, right? So finally I call her and I'm like, haha, funny story, was in the hospital for 4 days. I lived, I'm fine. Also, while I was in the hospital, my brother's a cop, ran into him because he brought someone in. So we had a nice family visit. Didn't see him at the Mother's Day lunch because he was busy that day. So we had a nice little visit. Like I said, I'm in like the prime part of the hospital, thrive on the chaos. Like, it was very entertaining. So, yeah, Tuesday, 8:30, go to bed. Next morning, I have my phone set at 7, 1, and 8 to take my pills. Get up at 7 or quarter to 7. Make my kid his lunch. I look down at my phone. Well, I took my pills. I look down at my phone. And it says, message from unknown number. And I'm like, oh, it's probably just one of those spam calls because I don't know about America or anywhere else around the world. Those spam calls just keep finding me, right? I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about it because it's an unknown number. I listen to the message. It's my doctor. And the message says, hey, Heather, you have to go back to emergency. Now you have critically high potassium. It's at 6.3, which puts you in the cardiac arrest category again. This is an emergency. Get your ass to the hospital now. Well, my way of thinking is I made it through the night, so I'm okay. So not the way to probably think, but just, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So I take my kid to school. I go stop at McDonald's, get my coffee, come home, jump in the shower because I was like, okay, I remember from last time I didn't have a shower for 4 days. We're going to have a shower before we go there. I pack a bag. I find all my coffee mate because it's flavored and I need flavored coffee. I hate cream and sugar in my coffee. I'm like a flavored coffee. Normally it's International Delight, but I can't have milk there. So the coffee mate it is. And it does just as good of a job. Pack that because that's practical. Pack some shirts. Pack my $7, $8 toothbrush my husband got me, toothpaste, food, my charger, everything. Call my husband, tell him, get me another Uber. I'm going back to Hotel California.